Today I'm at Hurd State Park, and this is an old pastureland, and it's a second succession forest. You can still see there's old Juniperus virginiana, or red cedar. It's not a cedar, it's also just called juniper. It's an evergreen first succession, or it's a colonizer tree. It doesn't really need much. It takes over newly cleared areas, or areas that are turning back into forest. In here we also have this big tulip, beautiful Loriodendron tulipifera. That's a pretty old one right there. Right next to it we have a Quercus rubra. That's this tree here. This is a red maple, an Acer rubrum. So it's a nice mixed forest, mixed deciduous. Right here is a black birch, Betualenta, with its kind of crusty, horizontal, platy bark. And then this is Vicinium corymbosum, the high bush blueberry. There isn't a lot there. The understory is not developed here at all. There's very little. It's a deeply shaded, kind of rich forest. So I'm sure it's filled with ferns, just not a whole lot of shrub layer. Right here we have Fagus grandifolia, or the American beech. I've also seen ash, or fraxinus trees here. And I saw a small hickory, or carya. And I'll show you what those look like when I find them. You can see the junipers here have very little foliage. And what little foliage they do have is up towards the top. It's because these are full sun trees and they need full sun to stay alive. So as they get shaded out by the faster growing trees, they start to die. So you'll occasionally find dead ones like this here and there. And that also shows you the history of the site, meaning that within the last 100 years or so, it was cleared, allowing for these trees to grow. Other evidences of that is, of course, these pasture walls that were used to hold in grazing animals like sheep, cow, and horses. And it's second succession now. There's even some small shade hemlocks growing. Here we have a small Carpinus carolinea, or hornbeam, and these are more typical in your moister forest. It's a birch family, shade tree. They're nice, yellow foliage in the fall. So here we have a small clearing, or area that used to be ash trees or something else, and it's getting taken over by a multitude of different invasive plants common in landscaping, such as ligustrum or privet. We have Euonymus elatus here, or burning bush. We have Berberis thunbergii, another horrible invasive. Man, we got them all here. Right here we have Celestris orbicalis. It's this little twining vine thing. This is actually two vines twining onto each other. This is another bad invasive. And it probably used to be a birch grape plant, because we have a birch right there and we have a grape. And birch and grape are two first succession plants. So this is how a lot of central Connecticut can look. Just pretty much, I guarantee you, probably 85% of this is all non-native invasive. Here we have a small grove of hickories in the genus Carya. There's a few sapling ones. I don't know the exact species, I just know it's not tomatosa or shagbark. Tomatosa, it would be the bitternut, I think. I'm still learning my hickories. There's a lot of different types. I think there's like 5 or 6. And they all can look kind of similar, except for the shagbark. The shagbark is distinct. I'll probably see a shagbark today. Here we have a nice viburnum acerifolium, or the maple leaf viburnum. There's its umbel of berries, umbel just being a flat-shaped flower. These are white in the summer. And then you can tell it's a viburnum just by the opposite stems. And they're maple leaf shaped in the summer, with beautiful purple foliage in the fall. One of my favorite native shrubs, and one of the only viburnums that grows in deeply shaded forested uplands, at least in southern New England. Here we have Parthenothesis quinquifolia, or the Virginia creeper. Virginia creepers, this is their typical habitat, either climbing up trees or flowing or falling off of rocks, I guess. You can tell it's not poison ivy by these little twirly whirlies. These are basically their little tendrils that clamp onto rocks and other surfaces. And poison ivy tends to be a lot hairier. It has a lot. It's like a hairy vine. It has a bunch of little hairs going off like that. And these have some of the most beautiful foliage and leaves of any of the vines around here, and beautiful red in the fall. It's one of my favorite plants. Makes a great ground cover. The foliage in the summer is like this kind of dark blue-green. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to show you. It's a great vine. And you can just imagine this in summer, just kind of these hanging vines against this rock with the sedges and the mosses. And this is Thudium delicatum, the most common moss in the area. And here are the seed capsules of the beautiful Pyrola americana. This is in the blueberry family. And you've seen this plant if you follow me many, many times. Beautiful evergreen leaves and like a little basil rosette, which is just a clump of leaves at the base of the plant. Now these are the seed capsules. In the summer, these are white or green, and they bloom in like July. They're very nice. One of my favorites. And one of the most common things you find in slightly more rich forests, and plants you see associated with them often are viburnums, like this maple leaf one. And here we have crowded parchment. It's in the genus Sturium. It's a polypore mushroom, and they're very common, growing on dead wood like this. Here we have the spore, capsule, the spore stalk of Onoclea sensibilis, or the sensitive fern. These are one of the more common ferns in wet areas throughout southern New England. And there's a few of them here and there along this little creek. And you can't forget about good old yellow birch, Betula allegensis, typically found in wet areas by creeks. Here we have another few invasives. This is multiflora rose. This is Rubus funiculatus, or wineberry. And then we also have Lonicera japonica, all brought in for either horticultural use or ornamental use. This one was ornamental, this one was horticultural. These are very tasty, the wineberry.